today. So now you can see on the screen we have Mr. Dennis Daniels. So Dennis Daniels, and we were having a discussion just before this call. He has spent 40 plus years in front of a computer. She started his journey in 1984 with Fortran and other basics and all those technologies. And he is going to talk more about that. Plus, he has 20 years of experience in the travel industry, and he is a public speaker par excellence, and you see the way he will communicate. And I will request Daniel to talk more about himself, and I personally thank him to come and share his knowledge to the community. And thanks, and over to you, Daniel. Sorry, unmute. You can unmute now.
Thank you, Mohammed, for the introductions. And yes, I've been sitting in front of a computer since 1984. My father bought an Apple IIe for me with a 5.5 inch disc floppies. That's how old I am. Pre-internet, et cetera, and it doesn't make me a developer though. I've written a lot of code, but I've never really thought of myself as a developer. I've always been more on the people side, and I would like to thank Mohammed again for the invitation here today. My interest in AI is deep, and I have built a bunch of kind of chat interfaces in the last 6 months, using a variety of tools, using a variety of AIs for that as well. But let me just give you a quick rundown. I work in the industry. I have seen 55 countries myself. My wife and I have, I should specify, my wife and I have seen 55 countries together. She's seen another 70, she's seen a total of 70 herself. I've lived in 7 different countries, so I'm used to the travel problems that people might have as expats. And I have been in and out of the IT industry for 30 years. One of my first jobs was building a database using a portable, using an old Apple II that had a screen built in, and I would carry that to work. And I built the database that ran the supply chain for a biotech company in Silicon Valley. That was one of my best jobs ever. Every day was exciting and new and interesting. So that's a little bit about me. What I'd like to know a little about is from you guys. Is there anybody here on the call now that is in the travel industry in any way, shape, or form? No one. No one in the travel industry.
Use the chat. Barry used to work for hotels.
Okay. All right. So Barry used to work in hotels. All right. I have never worked myself straight. I've never worked in a hotel myself. My wife has, but I've visited lots of hotels, but doesn't mean I've ever worked at one. So nobody here is in the travel industry. Makes it easier in some ways and harder in others. Okay. One of the key things that anybody here in the AI, interested in AI, is going to realize is that okay, so you work in film and tourism. Okay, very good. So you IHG, very good. We work with one of our clients is IHG. We work with Six Senses, and we work with Intercontinental in Phuket. And a media company, second tourist destination, number 2 tourist destination in the Midwest. I'm guessing St. Louis, New Orleans, Johnny? Chicago. Yeah, I love Chicago. Chicago is awesome. One of my favorite cities. All right, so keeping all of that in mind, When we are talking about AI, and Mohammed's already mentioned this before, and it's just so obvious, it's hard to keep up with all of the changes. And the travel industry is having the same problems. They cannot keep up with all of the changes. And for the most part, hotels are super slow. They are super conservative. They are not interested in the latest, greatest technology. No, they're not. What their primary goal is every single day is what we say heads in beds. That's all they care about. Heads in beds. Now, if you can show them a technology that will put more heads in beds, then they might be interested. But keep in mind that any kind of software implementation that you want to do with your super AI cool tool that you have built, you think is going to change the hotel industry, you need to take a big step back, because what you are proposing is a fundamental shift in their software. And many of the hotels are using monstrous ERP, enterprise resource planning, like applications called property management systems. And these property management systems, for example, you have Oracle, you have Protel, you have Maestro, you have Muse, you have Cloudbed. All of these are proprietary tools. And you are not going to get access to that API unless you have enormous funds. Okay? So you might have the greatest idea. Mohammed, you might have written the coolest piece of AI application to improve revenue management, but you're not going to get access to their API unless the hotel is willing to pay the supplier to give you access to the API. And the API owners at Protel or IHG or at Opera or at Oracle is one of the biggest property management system providers now in the world for hotels. They are not going to give you access to their API. You might be able to get information, but you are certainly not going to be able to post information to their system without lots and lots and lots of testing, which is expensive. And most hotels are not going to pay for that. Even if you promise 5% increase in revenue, they're not willing to pay the property management system to make those improvements. So your core target market for anybody who wants to build the next AI property management system tool, you're going to be looking at smaller operations. You're going to be looking at smaller hotels. And that's where you're probably going to have most traction. The big boys, they're not going to listen to you unless you actually work at Protel, or you actually work at Oracle, or you actually work at Opera. Those property management systems are huge and incredibly difficult to get access to. What if you're building a model that is efficacy that makes the API connection lighter, or direct connection? Okay, see again, as I said, the APIs are tightly controlled by the owners of the APIs. So there are open APIs, like for example, Govendi. Govendi is based on the open API protocol using RESTful APIs that will maybe allow you to get some to be able to get some Git or even post into their API. But that's again, if you're looking at the API documentation for the property management systems, the professional ones, the Oracles, the Protels, the Muse, APIs are huge. They are absolutely gigantic because every hotel, they wrote the APIs so that they can cover every variability, every kind of random fact about the hotel, and they need to capture that in the API. So they're very cautious about giving anyone access to the API. So, Johnny, if you're building a cool new tool, cool, do it. But talk to the smaller hotels and talk to the hotels that are already using RESTful API. Why do I mention RESTful API? Wait, let's find out. Who knows what RESTful API is? Somebody in the chat? Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right, so your hotel, the people who are running the hotel property management systems, some of them are still using SOAP. They're still using the SOAP protocol. So if you're looking at SOAP and trying to interact with the SOAP API, you need an entirely different set of skills. And so thank you. SOAP is very slow. Absolutely. It's incredibly cumbersome. But many of the property management systems still use SOAP because that was where the industry started. SOAP was going to change everything. And many of your destination management companies, or DMCs, are still using SOAP to communicate to their travel agents and tour operators worldwide. So SOAP, even though it's ancient technology, is still very commonly used in the airlines, commonly used at the hotel level, commonly used in the property management system, commonly used in the tour operators. Unbelievably, it's still there. Even though everyone hates it, it's legacy. And companies do not let go of legacy code because their question is, if it works, why change? All right. So keep that in mind. You might have the greatest piece of software that's going to change everything, but most of the time, you're not going to get too many people listening because it requires them to change their core software, and they don't want to do that unless they have to. So keep that in mind. All right, moving on. I wanted to share a website with you that I think might be useful in helping you stay kind of current in news. Now, Mohammed does a number of posts in the WhatsApp channel for changes, what's going on in the AI world. I use InnoReader. It's free, and I put in a bunch of search terms, and it keeps me kind of current on what's happening in travel and AI, AI in general, and some of my pet projects. So it's free. I'm not promoting it, or I use it. It works for me. You might have a better news reader, but that's one way to stay kind of stay current in the AI changes. Moving on. So how are travel agents, tour operators, and destination management companies using AI? DMCs, I'm going to use that phrase in the future, DMC. Here in Dubai, DMCs are critical for bringing in international guests. Now, Johnny, you're in Chicago, and there are certainly DMCs in Chicago as well. And what do? They work with the tour operators and the travel agents from around the world to help them arrange hotels, excursions, reservations, etc. in Chicago. Same in Dubai. And there's maybe 20 big DMCs, and I'd say there are maybe 3 DMCs that control like 80% of the Dubai market. One of them is Reina. The other one is Desert Adventures, which is owned by the UAE government through Emirates Airlines, which is a multi-billion-dollar travel company known as Danata. And Danata is a monster. And I know for a fact that Donata has been having nothing but trouble keeping up with their AI implementations because their APIs are all over the place. I heard that they have over 85 major APIs operating within Donata itself. So as a software architect, imagine how you would keep all that straight. As a developer, if anybody's a developer here, how are you going to, which of those APIs are you going to try and help? So keep that in mind. The travel industry is clouded with multiple APIs doing oftentimes the same thing that the other API is doing. But that being said, how are the travel agents using the tour operators, the DMCs? There are quite a few that are now making mobile apps that have some sort of AI built in. So what they'll do is, for example, this is in the States, but the application is called One Elite. And so you tell it where you want to go, and then it shows you some options. And then as you flip through those options, it remembers your preferences. So you might go to Chicago and you want to see a show, you want to eat a great burger, and you want to stay in a nice hotel. So it remembers that. So the next time you go to New York, it's going to pull up similar suggestions for New York. And I'm not sharing my screen. I can if you want me to.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I thought you have a slide. Maybe later you will.
I do, but I don't know if it's going to help everybody here.
Okay.
I can share. I can share if it helps. Do you guys
Maybe,
want to see my slides?
yeah, just a little bit so people know the structure
Okay.
if what you're speaking.
Yeah. All right. Let me share my screen.
Yeah, that will be
Here we
nice.
go. Share. All
Yeah.
right. You should now see my screen.
Yes, we can see. Yeah, it is at least people can see and relate to it. Yeah, thanks, Dennis. Carry on.
Yes, of course. Okay, and let me go back to, okay, so there we are. All right, so one of the things to keep in mind is that your phone is already super powerful. Whenever I travel, before I travel, I ask ChatGPT which applications I should install before going to a specific city. Now, I say this because when I was in Vienna a couple months ago, and Vienna has a bunch of very specific apps for Vienna. There's Vienna Train, there's a Vienna app for navigating all the trains, all the metros, all the buses, etc. So I downloaded that application before I went and actually bought I bought credits for traveling on the Austrian or Viennese train system before I even left. So when I got to Vienna, I could just start using my phone as a way to get around the city. I bought my tickets for my museums on my phone before I would go, so I would go right to the front of the line. Now, I use ChatGPT to tell me which applications I should install. And my German, meine Deutschsprache ist überschreckt, aber ich kann verstehen ein bisschen. So I was using GPT Pro and Gemini for real-time translations when I had questions on what to say or how to get what I wanted. So that's something that's built into many of your phones, and I highly recommend you practice using those while traveling because it makes a big difference. It really does. Navigation, we all know about Google Maps and Yango, and I already mentioned this one. OneAir.ai. It's only available in the States, but there are similar applications coming out here in Dubai. And what they do, and this is how they're using AI, they're using technology for arbitrage. Now I'll get into that in a bit, but arbitrage effectively means the cost of 5 apples on one side of the street is $1. On the other side of the street, 5 apples costs 75 cents. So in that distance between those two sets of apples, there is 25 cents of profit for somebody. That's arbitrage. So you go to the side of the street where the apples are sold for 75 cents. You buy those for 75 cents. You walk across the street and you sell them for $1. You make 25 cents. And the travel agents, tour operators, and DMCs are using AI, like the technology in Mize.tech, to get their to make their money, because it's travel industry is incredibly competitive, and the margins are very thin. All right, so this is not so much AI as you applying your intelligence, using artificial intelligence to get more out of your travel dollar or your travel money. And why do I say this? Consumer power. So one of the things you need to understand is that Booking.com charges anywhere between 10 to 30% for every booking. So I see Arshad Hotel in Dubai. I want to book at Arshad Hotel, and I see that Arshad Hotel is selling $1,000 a night. Okay, on Booking.com, it's $1,000 a night. I know that Arshad Hotel is probably paying anywhere between 15 to 30% in commission for my booking. If I book 10 nights at Arshad Hotel, it's going to cost me $10,000. So what do? I contact Arshad Hotel directly and say, hey, I will pay you I'll pay you $8,000. I'll pay you $8,000 for 10 nights, and I will wire you the money directly. Now, the reservation manager is going to get super excited by this, because they make their money, and I have saved them 20% on the booking. So they get their money, and I get a 20% discount on the booking. Now, my wife and I have done this a bunch of times, where we find a hotel we like. We look at how much they're charging on Booking.com. We figure, okay, they're charging 30%, so we offer them 40% of the cost. So at Arshad Hotel, instead of offering $8,000, I'd say, all right, I'll give you $6,000, and I'll wire you the money now. Revenue managers love that, because they get money instantly, and they don't have to pay Booking.com. So that's definitely something I recommend you do. If you see a property you like on Booking.com, contact the revenue manager and begin a conversation. Oftentimes, they are willing to talk, especially if you can wire them the money immediately. Another way of using AI in travel, and this might be unusual for you to consider, but travel is very seasonal. You do not come to Dubai in summer unless you really, 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 really like hot weather. Don't do it. So the best time to come to Dubai is in the winter. November, December, January, February. That's basically the best time to be in Dubai. It's also peak season. So you're coming to Dubai now, you're paying premium dollar. So you might want to look at when are the shoulder seasons. You have your peak, and then you have your shoulder seasons. And ChatGPT or Claude, they know the peak and the shoulder and the low seasons for your destination. So if you go now, you go to ChatGPT and ask, what is the peak season, or what is the low season for Egypt? What's the low season for Peru? What's the low season for Chicago? And then you have those dates, and then now you have a better idea as to whether or not you can make your vacation fit the low season, because you're going to get a lot more attention. You're going to get better prices. And sometimes, and I've seen this myself when we traveled to Tanzania, We went in low season to Tanzania. We had the restaurant to ourselves. We had the hotel to ourselves. We had no trouble getting a taxi at all. And we had a fabulous time. The beaches were, I wouldn't say empty, but their beaches were not full like they are in peak season. So use the AI to identify when are the high seasons, shoulder seasons, and low seasons. That will save you enormous amounts of money. Any questions? Let me check the chat here. Any questions so far? Anything that you guys would like to hear more about?
Barry has something about Donata.
Tanada is very big, but I know that EMAR is trying to enter travel. Where do you see West Asia climate and travel and AI innovation? Political climate. Oh, wow. Okay. Political climate in the U.S. I can see that very few people want to go to the U.S. because the visa problems are a real nuisance. It's very difficult for many international travelers to get into the United States because of the visas and the paperwork that's involved in getting into the United States. And Europe is also responding by changing the visas for Americans entering into Europe. It's a mess. And it's only in my opinion, it's only going to get worse. My experience is during they charge more than Booking. I understand Booking gets massive discounts for bringing in a lot of hotels do not encourage. Okay, so vignettes, that might be your experience, but I can say I have picked up the phone plenty of times to talk directly to a reservation manager and got better deals just by working directly with the hotel. If you make noises that they understand, then they will speak to you as if you are a professional. And I'm lucky in that way because I've been in the industry for a while, and I know, hey, I know your peak season is in 3 months. I know your shoulder season starts in a month. You are at the bottom of your season now. You probably have 10%, 20% occupancy. You need people in your hotel now. And they hear that like, oh, right, okay. So again, this is where you would use GPT or Claude to simulate some of these conversations. Tell Claude, pretend you are a reservation manager and negotiate with me for a lower cost room. Claude does that. It does a really good job of impersonating other professions. And I would say that's good advice for anybody who's interviewing as well. If you want to practice interviewing for a job, talk to Claude, talk to ChatGPT and say, you are the hiring manager for whatever company, and then practice those interview questions with the AI, with large language model. Highly recommended. And the same applies when speaking to a revenue manager. If you speak their language, they will respond, in my experience. All right. Do you have tools or solutions to build or use to offer as a service to the local tourism company here in my town? Okay, now, actually, I wanted to show you a tool that you can build. I think we'll be able to build this before we end this session. I'll show it to you, and you'll be able to see how you can build your own, because it's in some ways it's very easy. In some ways, there's some difficulties, but I think we can get to that. All right, so research low seasons, find a hotel you like, talk to the reservation manager directly, and you'll usually get a better price. Travel business in general. Okay, keeping in mind, travel industry has super thin margins. We're talking percentages. We're talking teeny tiny percentages. Travel companies die every day, all the time, big ones and small ones. Some spectacular explosions in the travel industry. Who makes money? Okay, the real winners in the travel industry are hotels with low financial debt. If you own a hotel and you have no hotel debt, there is no reason why you cannot make good money. It's a cash cow. If you own a hotel, it's like Monopoly. Johnny, you probably played Monopoly. You get a hotel, even if you have a hotel on Green Avenue, you are going to make money because anybody who goes to Green Avenue is going to stay at your hotel. So hotels can be very profitable. Uh, Government-sponsored travel companies like Donata, they make money. Some high-end or high-volume TAs, TOs, and DMCs. The high end is where you're going to be able to get your commissions. These are the high rollers, people who travel agents or tour operators who are dealing with individuals, high net worth individuals, or frequent international travelers. Some of these travelers will spend literally $10,000 a night per person for a hotel room on the beach, right? So those and even more, those numbers are real, and there are resorts that cater only to that kind of clientele. Travel agents that cater only to super high net worth individuals. So those people make money, but they also have enormous headaches that are very difficult to explain. But what is happening with the tour operators and DMCs? Now, there is one of the early winners of AI in the travel industry is Mize.tech, Mize.tech. Now, these guys came out about 3 years ago. And now there are maybe 10 or 12 other companies that do the same thing. But what Mize does is that they scan all of the APIs. The last I heard, they're checking over 1,200 APIs every second to try and find that margin between two similar hotels. So in this case, I'll use an example. So this is Hotel A and this is Hotel B. All right, they're almost identical. They're almost identical. But Hotel A is currently selling at $1,000 a night. Hotel B is selling at $800 a night. Now, the tour operators have sold a package for 5 nights to a hotel. They sold a package for 5 nights for a hotel. They charged $6,000. All right. Now, unless, and very few people do this, but when you buy a package from a tour operator, they don't tell you which hotel it is. And if they do, at the very bottom, they say, this is subject to change. And so that subject to change is exactly how these tour operators are making money. They sell a package to a hotel for $6,000. Well, they bought a booking for $5,000, but Mize found a hotel for $4,000 that's very similar. So the hotels change the booking over to the cheaper hotel, and they make $2,000 on a $6,000 deal. So that kind of arbitrage is very common now at the tour operator and the DMC level. So when you are buying your packages, buying your travel packages from tour operators, look at the fine print very carefully, because they're going to say that this hotel is not fixed, that they can change it. And that's what they're doing. They're using AI to find a better price to cut their margins. So keep this in mind. Mize.tech, fascinating technology stack, and they have lots of competition. But you and I, we're not going to be exposed to that. But at the tour operator level, if you are in a sophisticated market, Johnny, Chicago, I'm guessing that the travel agents and tour operators probably have APIs, which mean you could do the arbitrage for a night out in Chicago with 3 visits to the most fabulous places. Well, tour operator 1 has it for $100, tour operator 2 has it for $120. So you could sell the arbitrage of that $20 to the person who is buying that package. All right, that's an idea for smaller outfits. Okay, so how are the travel agents and tour operators and even hotels making money with AI? They're doing it with revenue and yield management. Yield means how much profit they can squeeze out of a particular booking, and revenue management. They always want to keep the hotel almost full, but not totally full, because if you have a guest walking in at the last minute, they will charge what is commonly known as rack rate. And rack rate is exactly what it sounds like. It is when you are put on the rack and tortured with high prices. Rack rate can be 3 times, 4 times the regular rate, because they know if you're coming in at 9 o'clock at night and you need a room now, they can charge whatever they want, and they do. So that kind of revenue and yield management, AI is definitely helping. Now, for chatbots, you will see a lot of this coming down the pipeline. More travel, hotels, resorts, etc., putting some sort of chat UI on the page to answer general queries that the lazy client has not bothered searching for. They want the answer now, so they go to the chat and they ask their question. How far is the hotel? How far is the hotel from the airport? What time is breakfast served? Those kinds of generic questions easily answered by a chatbot or an AI bot. And then competition checks. This is another place, Johnny, you might, anybody who's interested in finding ways to make money with travel and AI is by doing competition checks. This is something that can be automated, and unfortunately, I've not found very many good products yet that do this automatically. So we might have Berry Hotel, and we have Syed Hotel, and we have Arshad Hotel. They're very similar hotels, so we need to do a competition check. We need to find out what's the difference. Does Arshad Hotel have a pool? Does it have a gym? Does Berry Hotel have free transfers from the airport? Those kinds of competition check things are typically done manually, and AI with a proper scraper could do this automatically. So if you are an AI guy and you know how to do web scraping, doing competition checks for a travel agent or a tour operator or EMC or a hotel, that has real value now. If you want to build something, you build that, and you will have, in my estimation, you'll have business. So competition checks are a big one. And then RPA, or robotic process automation. I think Mohammed Arshad can talk a lot more about this than I can at this time. And Mohammed, how are we doing on time?
We have time. We have time, and there are we have approximately 20 minutes, including Q&A,
Okay.
so you can take your
Okay.
time.
Yeah. All right. So somebody here might be thinking, oh, I want to start a travel business. My immediate response is don't. It's a very, very difficult business and full of headaches. But if you do want to start your own travel business, because you're here, you already understand you already understand some of the technology involved, and that is a critical factor of many travel agents and tour operators that I have encountered. Most of them, they get into the travel industry because they like to travel, not because they're super technical. And that means if you are technical and you like to travel, you might be able to build a business. But keep in mind, you really need to know your market. Absolutely, you have to know your market. And if you're in Syed, where are you in? Where do you live, Syed? Syed, are you out there?
Syed, what is his full name? Let me unmute him or put on the
Syed?
Syed Noman, huh? Syed
Yes.
Noman, okay. Syed Numan, where do you stay? I have asked to unmute. I think he is. Any volunteers who wants to tell where they stay? Syed, I think he is maybe traveling or he is on mobile. Anyone else wants to say where they are? Most of the people are from UAE itself. Anyone outside
Uh,
UAE?
I'm looking, I'm scrolling through the chat to see where people live. Johnny's in Chicago.
Put on the chat, guys. Where are you from? Which?
Okay, so, oh, all right. So Barry, Tel Aviv. All right, so Tel Aviv is a fabulous city. Wow, crazy. So much going on, so much history, fabulous. And Narashima, UAE, lots going on here. There's all kinds of things that you know specifically about your particular location. And if you are passionate about that location, then you can be pretty confident that your location is not going to be outsourced. You cannot outsource Tel Aviv. You cannot outsource Dubai. So the people coming to Dubai, they're coming to see you as the travel company. So of course, getting them to come see you and not your competitor is an entirely different thing. But in terms of your job being outsourced, it's very hard. If you have a travel company in your city, in your town, you're always going to have the option of a job. So keep that in mind. You cannot outsource travel. The market is changing, but it can't be outsourced. So keep that in mind. That being said, next steps. All right. So, yeah. Next steps. If you're a total novice in tourism and you have no clue as to what's going on or anything I've been talking about, that's okay. If you're still interested in the industry, then think about all of the verbs that were connected to your last trip. Everything that you did, all of the steps that you took on your last trip. Think about those. Write down all the people connected to that verb. For example, you're booking a flight. All right. So you booked a flight, you went to a website, you clicked, you paid, you researched, you verified, you added it to your calendar, all of those things. You might have even called somebody. So all of those verbs that you used, all of those things require an API. Every single one of those things require an API. And if you can apply AI to speed up that API, you're well on your way to becoming an AI travel specialist. If you are in the biz, I believe it was Johnny. Johnny's actually working with hotels in some capacity or with a travel company in some capacity. Talk to your tech team and make sure that your API, ideally, you're using some sort of RESTful API so that you can connect other RESTful APIs to provide better services to your internal clients, your internal clients, you as a user of your application, or provide more services to your outside customers, the ones that might be using your phone, your application, or the ones that are accessing your website. Those are all API connections. So if you own a travel company, definitely check your own APIs and how well they are integrating or using other APIs. Last I checked, there are over 8,000 hotels that are offering their APIs for free. All you have to do is ask for a key and they will give you access to their API, which means that you can check their rates just like that, which is valuable if you're trying to sell that particular hotel, as opposed to using booking.com or another proprietary software, which is going to charge you premium to get access to that data. Okay. And All right, and if you're a tier one travel company like Donata or Four Seasons, then you are using tools like Mize.tech that is doing automatic arbitrage, automatic rebooking, automatic repositioning of high net worth clients to premium rooms to make sure that they are happy clients. Okay, moving on. And finally, yes, questions, but I wanted to show you something that I built. I wanted to show you something that I built just before we started, and this is something I built with the help of Muhammad Arshad and his class. So this is a little bit of a tool or a shout out to Muhammad and how his classes have helped me. I built this application here. And take a look at it. You should have access to it. Everybody should be able to open it up. And I will give a quick demonstration of what it does. I'm going to travel from Chicago to New Orleans. Both fabulous cities, highly recommended. If you've not been to Chicago, if you've not been to New Orleans, totally go. Cultural sightseeing, food and culinary. Yeah, you're going to Chicago, you gotta eat. You're going to New Orleans, you gotta eat. So I have built this using Hugging Face, Gradio, and a little bit of magic on the back end, which you can see here in a moment. So what it does is it builds an itinerary for me automatically. And it calculates all of the costs of all of these things that I'm going to do. And you can see, hopefully it's going to give me the total. No, because I didn't set the total number of tokens. I'm going to increase the total number of tokens to, well, I'm going to max it out. And now I'm going to generate the itinerary. All right, so now it's doing its thing. And you can see that it's giving the budget for the day, how much it's going to cost, what I can do while I'm there, et cetera, et cetera. And in a few seconds, hopefully it's going to give me a total. Oh, it's actually giving me quite a detailed list of everything I can do in the morning, the afternoon, the evening, et cetera. Okay. So it didn't give me the total again. That's an error on my side. I didn't code it up entirely. But if you're a travel agent and you need some ideas, or you want to generate your own itinerary for all of those clients that are coming to your website and saying, oh, I want to go to Paris, my budget is $3,000. Boom. You, as the AI specialist, you pass that query to the AI. The AI queries the API of all of your data, and then it pulls down the pricing and gives you a relatively quick response, so that the client will know how much it's going to cost really fast, and that gets the conversation started. At which point, depending on how sophisticated your team is, they can jump in and start to sell human to human and close that deal. So, without doubt, AI can change the travel industry 100% with relatively low-cost solutions. This solution that I built, and I'm not joking, I built it in 6 minutes, 7 minutes, using AI to build an AI tool to help me sell my tools or sell my services to somebody else. All right, that covers it. I think I'm going to hand it over to Mohammed to close out the meeting. Unless somebody has some specific questions for me, I think I have covered what I wanted to talk about.
This is very great. Good. We have questions. We will continue the session. We will open the floor for Q&A. The time of the talk is till 6 p.m. And we will do the quiz as well. But it's very inspirational. You have built. I also checked the code. You have used a very good prompt template as well to make this application, and you have used. Uh, I was just looking at which in this use case, which you have used which LLM. You have used Hugging Face inference, but which LLM? I am not. I was not able to. What was the LLM you used for this specific use case? Okay, let me. Sorry. Okay, ask to unmute.
Yes. Okay. So when I built this, and Barry, I'll get right to your question here. So when I built it, I chose, I created a new model, and where is the? I'm having trouble finding how to create a new one.
So you have to go back on this the three dots near your face on the right side.
Right side.
Yeah, three dots. Yeah, go to something is looking different here.
Yeah.
Spaces. Create new spaces.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
create new
Okay,
space.
create new
Create
space.
new
Okay,
space.
so
Yeah.
this is what I did. Create new space. Going now. All right, so that's all I'm going to do. I'll set the license to Apache, and right here I used these templates. So I used the Gradio template,
Mhm.
and then I chose the chatbot,
Okay.
and then create space. And because it's Gradio, it's going to give me the code here in a few seconds. Hopefully.
But my question was more about LLM. You have used Zephyr.
Yeah, I'm saying I just used the generic LLM that Hugging Face gave me.
Okay. This is something
Yeah,
faster.
yeah, it's already there. It's already built in. I didn't have to do anything.
Nice.
Okay, so what is top P under advanced settings? I'm going to hand that over to Mohammed. Answer that question, please.
Yeah. This is more about you're giving the option for the LLM to select the next probable word. If you put more top P, then you are giving the LLM more options to select the next probable word. So if you want it to be less creative, you will reduce the top P. If you want to be more creative, you will increase the top P. And I will talk more about this in the future things, but just for now, this is enough. That is it. But okay, so my question is, okay, this is already they have taken
Yeah,
the
so
default one.
they've already connected everything for me. They're using
Nice.
Zephyr 7B. And I took the code, I passed it over to Cursor. Actually, I took it to Claude. I said, Claude, write functions that will generate a budget, track the budget amounts, and then give a total for all of those items at the end of the response. And I need to modify the code to control how much of the itinerary is presented before doing the budget. So I need to specify in the code that it needs to focus more on the budget than the itinerary. But that's a small modification, and I don't think it's certainly not super sophisticated because the code is right here, and you can still see my screen, right?
We can see your screen. We can see your screen.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
this is very
I just took the
interesting.
code, Control A, Control C, and then I went to Claude, started a new chat. I pasted the code, and then I said, write functions to generate budget. Output is 50% itinerary, and 50% budget. And I tell it to do that, and while it's busy crunching out the code, Claude has been incredibly accurate in terms of first use code, and I use it. I use it all the time. So you want to leverage your AI. This is a great example of how you can start writing code and building your proof of concepts very quickly. Uh, and Mohammed has a class on APIs, and one of the things that the AI can do is make it easier for you to integrate your AI applications with APIs. And let me go ahead and see if this works. I'm going to go ahead and pop this back in here, edit the code, and Control A, Control V, and save. Okay, and it looks like it's done. So now I go to the app. Hopefully there won't be any
So you
errors.
learned about this today in our master class. You learned about this thing, Gradio, that I showed you today, or some you did this before?
I've used Gradio in the past, but I haven't used Hugging. I haven't used the spaces in the
Okay.
past.
So my
I
question
use,
is, what
please.
you are doing right now, you did it today. This chatbot that you built, you did it do it today when I introduced.
I built it in 5 minutes. 5 minutes
But today,
today.
oh my, that is amazing.
Yeah, I built it while you were giving your class.
This is amazing. And this option that you showed me right now about the chat option, this is something very new in Spaces. This has come out only 3 months back, where
Yeah,
when you select Spaces, when you select chat, it is giving you everything. So you don't even need to know about how to connect to a LLM, how to have write the Gradio code. You get the basic code yourself, and then
yeah,
that code, as Dennis mentioned, and you can ask the Cloud or GPT-4 or whatever you're using to change the code accordingly to your use case, keeping
absolutely.
keeping the structure same, the LLM and the libraries same, only change the Gradio UI UX and the prompt template. So
That is correct.
and this is a very easy way for any non-technical person to start taking a basic structure and building a POC quickly. And this is something
Absolutely.
that I also learned just today, just now, that you can the if you select chat option, which was not there 3 months before, right now Gradio has made it more easy. The Spaces has made it more easy to build applications. And
Yes,
I should have seen this 1 month before. I could have introduced this in our application challenge that we built. So in our application challenge, many people were facing problems in putting their application on Spaces who were new to coding. But if they knew about this, it would have been much easier for a lot of people to build their projects.
absolutely. And I'm not discounting the need to understand the basics of software processes, because it's easy for us to imagine these very complex tools that does a lot of things, but actually telling a computer to do all of those complex things is very delicate. And so I can say that learning the basics of software development will make it a lot easier for you to tell an AI what you want to build. I have built a lot of toy applications, so I know the problems I can expect that the software will not understand. So keep that in mind. If you haven't signed up for Mohammed's classes, you might want to do that, because he can help you walk through some of these problems. And I'm getting an exit code. Application is not being initialized, but it does work. You have to walk through some of these problems and figure them out. In this case, I would pass it back to Claude and say,
That's
what's the problem? Blah, blah, blah. But
live demos always fail. This is a principle I have seen. Whenever you want to execute in front of 15 eyes, you have a lot of issues. But anyways, thanks a lot, Dennis. Any questions from anyone? In the just you can. I think a lot of people have on their camera. Okay, Barry, you have some time, Dennis. You have 5-10 minutes of your time.
I have another, I need to be, 5 minutes. I need to leave by 5:45 because I need to be
Sure,
across town.
no problem. Barry, you can unmute. Ask to unmute.
Okay, so I'll ask, hi, Dennis, it was a very interesting topic. I'll ask very quickly. How do you feel that AI within the travel industry in West Asia will continue to evolve with the entrance of and the further going of Donata and also Amar. Amar is also another player in the industry with the changing political climate in the US with Donald Trump coming in the White House. How do you think this will affect the AI climate in West Asia? Thank you.
Unmute.
In West Asia, specifically, it's
West Asia is where we are.
say again, I'm sorry.
West Asia is the other way to say Middle East.
Oh, okay. That first time I've heard that phrase. I was thinking West Asia. I'm thinking like India or Pakistan.
No,
But
India is South Asia. UAE to Israel and Lebanon and Syria is West Asia.
okay. That's the first time I've heard that phrase. I can speculate from our own experience here with our GCC clients is that the visas, again, getting visas into the United States is very difficult, and that paperwork continues to cloud the number of people or reduce the number of people who can travel. Now, those who have a lot of money typically are paying somebody else to work through those visa problems. Obviously, high net worth travelers is what any country wants as tourists. But seeing how that's going to change going forward, I would say it's probably going to be a reduction in the number of people who want to travel to the States. For lots of ideological reasons, A, and B, just because getting into the United States is generally difficult in my travel industry experience. I hope that answers your question. There might be AI tools that will speed up some of those processes. I personally keep a JSON file of all of my details, and I pass that JSON file onto my local LLM, and I have it write my documents for me using my data on my local LLM, which I highly recommend everybody do because it makes my life so much easier. When I have to fill out forms or have to send out emails specifying certain things, I just pass my data over to the LLM, and then it generates it for me on my data. And it's not shared. So, any other questions?
You can unmute your mics, guys. I have, if you have any questions to ask for Dennis, or let him make a move. Any other questions from Dennis before we move to the next section? So, okay, Dennis, we have already shared your LinkedIn profile. Before we end the call, any final thoughts that you want to share with the community, and just like on a closing note? And also I will again share before I leave your LinkedIn profile, but anything other than that, how they can reach out to you, what is the any closing thoughts for today's session? Yeah. Over to you, Dennis. You can, okay, I was asking you to give any closing thoughts. I cannot hear you. Okay.
Closing thoughts.
Yeah.
AI is now, you all know it. That's why you're here. Highly recommend you get your own large language model running locally. I use Olama You can pick it up at olama.com. I use it all the time. It has its own API. I can pass code directly to it, and it will chew and chew and chew on that code as long as the computer is on. So it will, if you have a little bit of coding knowledge and Claude or GPT Pro, you can write the code that will get your language model to do what you want it to do as long as your computer is on. And that is powerful, super powerful, highly recommended. And then I would also say you would do well to be taking Mohammed's classes to keep you up to date on what's changing, because the market it's changing so fast. Everything I said today could be erased next month in terms of the specifics, but the general point is these models, these large language model tools, is going to continue to change not only travel, but it's going to continue to change the way we approach so many other problems. So you need to be aware of how and what these models are doing outside of your bubble. My bubble is travel. Your bubble might be music. Your bubble might be logistics. But whatever bubble you're in, AI is also manipulating other bubbles. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. I request everyone else for please be in the call. We'll have the next section. Thank you, Dennis, for your time, and talk to you soon in the future master classes. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.